The unexpected encounter. The harsh fluorescent lights of Nexus Research Station cast long shadows across Dr. Zara Reyes's workstation. Her fingers danced across holographic displays, analyzing mineral composition data from the Tartarus mining complex on the remote planet Sigma-9. Something didn't feel right. Zara had been monitoring unusual energy signatures in the facility's deep excavation zones. The readings suggested more than standard mining operations. There were consistent bioelectric disruptions that defied standard geological patterns. Her communication device chirped. It was Marcus, her research assistant. "Dr. Reyes, you're going to want to see this." A series of encrypted data streams flooded her screen. Thermal imaging, communication intercepts, and anomalous energy readings painted a disturbing picture. The mining complex wasn't just extracting rare minerals, they were systematically suppressing and exploiting an intelligent indigenous species. "Oh my God," Zara whispered, her heart racing. The thermal images revealed cramped containment units deep within the facility's lowest levels. Humanoid figures with distinctly non-human physiological characteristics were being compressed into minimal living spaces. Their biosignatures suggested advanced neurological capabilities far beyond standard classification. "We need to investigate," Zara told Marcus. "Prepare our research shuttle. We're going to Sigma-9." 48 hours later, Zara's specialized research vessel approached the mining complex. From orbit, it appeared like any other industrial extraction site: massive refinery modules, transport corridors, and protective energy shields. But now, Zara knew the truth hidden beneath the sterile facade. Using her xenobiological credentials and carefully forged access codes, Zara managed to secure a temporary research clearance. The facility's administrative staff seemed nervous, their communication patterns suggesting they were hiding something significant. As she walked through the pristine corridors, her specialized scanning equipment, disguised as standard research tools, began collecting data. Microscopic energy fluctuations, subtle atmospheric composition changes, and faint psychic residues told a story of systematic oppression. In a restricted sublevel, Zara discovered the first direct evidence. A containment chamber, ostensibly labeled as Research Specimen A7, held a being that was unmistakably sentient. Tall, with iridescent skin that shifted colors based on emotional states, the alien looked directly at her. Their eyes met. In that moment, Zara understood this was no mere specimen. This was a thinking, feeling individual being treated as an object. The alien's eyes, deep pools of emerald and silver, communicated a complex mixture of hope, fear, and a profound, almost tangible sense of resilience. Without words, a connection formed. Zara realized her mission had transformed from a scientific expedition to a moral imperative. Something had to be done. The mining complex's facade of legitimacy was a thin veneer covering a deeply unethical operation. And Dr. Zara Reyes was not going to let it continue. As alarms began to sound in the distance, Zara knew her covert investigation had just become significantly more complicated. Breaking chains of oppression. The containment level hummed with tension. Zara's heart raced as she realized the complexity of her discovery. The alien, whom she now understood was named Curl, represented an entire civilization systematically trapped and exploited by the mining corporation. Curl's communication was subtle, a combination of color shifts, minute muscular movements, and barely perceptible psychic resonances. Through careful observation and her xenolinguistic training, Zara began to understand fragments of their story. The mining complex was more than an extraction site. It was a sophisticated operation designed to suppress an entire species with advanced neural capabilities. The containment chambers weren't just physical restraints, they were sophisticated psychic suppression units that disrupted the aliens' natural communication and collective consciousness. "We must act carefully," Zara whispered, her fingers subtly adjusting her research equipment to mask their conversation from the facility's monitoring systems. Curl's response was a complex pattern of skin pigmentation and micromovements that Zara interpreted as a strategic assessment. The aliens had been studying their captors, waiting for a precise moment of intervention. The facility's security protocols were formidable. Multiple layers of biometric scanning, energy field barriers, and automated defense systems created a seemingly impenetrable environment. But Zara had spent her career studying complex xenobiological systems, and complexity always meant vulnerabilities. Her research vessel carried specialized equipment designed for extreme environmental adaptations. Quantum encryption devices, molecular disruptors, and advanced communication scramblers would be crucial in their escape plan. Over the next 48 hours, Zara and Kurl developed a nuanced strategy. The mining corporation, Nexus Interstellar Resources, believed their containment was absolute. Their arrogance would become their weakness. The facility's shift changes provided a 7-minute window of reduced surveillance. Kurl's species possessed unique neurological capabilities that could temporarily disrupt electronic monitoring systems, but using these abilities came at a significant physiological cost. The energy required will severely strain your neural pathways, Zara warned, interpreting Kurl's communication. The alien's response was a determined shift of skin tone, a mixture of deep azure and vibrant crimson that Zara had come to recognize as unwavering resolve. Their plan was intricate. Zara would use her research credentials to create digital diversions, rerouting security protocols and creating false alarm scenarios. Simultaneously, Kurl would mobilize other contained individuals, preparing them for a coordinated escape. The facility's administrative structure was a hierarchical nightmare of bureaucratic complexity. Multiple layers of management, each more disconnected from ground-level operations, created systemic blind spots. Zara exploited these vulnerabilities with surgical precision. Using her quantum encryption device, she began introducing subtle anomalies into the facility's tracking systems. Communication logs would show normal operations while creating invisible pathways for their escape. Kurl's people were not merely passive victims. Generations of oppression had refined their survival strategies. Each individual in the containment zones possessed unique abilities that, when synchronized, could create remarkable disruptions. As the critical moment approached, Zara felt a mixture of scientific excitement and moral determination. This was more than a research mission, it was a liberation effort. The first phase of their plan commenced precisely 37 minutes into the night shift. Zara's digital intrusions created a cascading series of false emergency protocols. Security systems became confused, with automated responses triggering contradictory lockdown procedures. In the containment zones, Kurl and selected individuals began their neurological synchronization. Their collective consciousness created a psychic interference field that further destabilized the facility's electronic systems. Alarms began to sound. But these were not the sharp, decisive alerts of a well-coordinated response. These were chaotic, overlapping warnings that suggested systemic breakdown. Zara moved with calculated efficiency. Her research gear transformed into sophisticated infiltration equipment. Molecular disruptors could temporarily disable energy barriers, creating momentary escape routes. The facility's administrators would soon realize something was wrong. But by then, it would be too late. As the first containment units began to open, Zara looked at Kurl. Their eyes met, a human and an alien, united by a shared vision of freedom and justice. The Great Escape was about to begin. The Great Escape. The facility erupted into controlled chaos. Zara's meticulously planned digital disruptions created a labyrinth of false emergencies, confusing the security systems. Kurl's neural synchronization transformed the containment zones into a complex network of resistance. Security protocols began to collapse. Electronic barriers flickered and failed, creating temporary escape routes. The contained aliens moved with remarkable precision. Decades of oppression had refined their survival strategies into an art form. "We have approximately 22 minutes before full system recovery," Zara whispered, her quantum encryption device humming softly. Complex holographic displays danced around her, showing real-time facility schematics and security network vulnerabilities. Curl's response was a rapid sequence of skin color modulations, a language more complex than any verbal communication. Their plan wasn't just about escaping. It was about liberating an entire suppressed civilization. The facility's security teams began to mobilize. Heavily armored personnel moved through corridors, their advanced tactical gear a testament to the corporation's resources. But their technological superiority was about to meet its match. As containment units opened, the aliens demonstrated extraordinary capabilities. Some could temporarily disrupt electronic systems with neural emissions. Others possessed molecular restructuring abilities that allowed them to pass through seemingly solid barriers. Zara accessed the facility's central communication hub, introducing cascading algorithm disruptions. Emergency protocols became a tangled mess of contradictory instructions. Security teams found themselves redirected, confused by deliberately introduced communication errors. The primary escape route is now active, Curl communicated through a complex pattern of bioluminescent signals. Their strategy was multilayered. While some aliens created diversions, others prepared specialized transport vessels hidden deep within the facility's forgotten maintenance tunnels. These were not standard escape vehicles but sophisticated biomechanical constructs adapted from their original technological systems. The first major confrontation occurred in Sector 7, a critical junction between the containment zones and external launch facilities. Heavily armed security teams encountered a collective neural disruption field that rendered their advanced weaponry temporarily inoperable. Zara's research vessel, strategically positioned nearby, provided additional technological support. Quantum shielding and advanced molecular scramblers created invisible corridors of protection for the escaping aliens. Structural integrity of escape routes at 73% and maintaining, she muttered, monitoring multiple holographic displays simultaneously. Curl moved with extraordinary grace, coordinating the collective escape. Their species' unique neural synchronization allowed for near-instantaneous strategic adjustments. Where human systems relied on hierarchical communication, the aliens operated as a single, fluid intelligence. Corporate security teams began to realize this was no ordinary containment breach. These were not panicked prisoners, but a carefully orchestrated liberation movement. The facility's automated defense systems, designed to prevent unauthorized exits, became paradoxically ineffective. Each security protocol was systematically neutralized by the aliens' collective neural capabilities. "We're approaching the primary launch zone," Zara communicated, her voice calm despite the intense operational complexity. Klaxon alarms blended into a constant, meaningless background noise. The facility's administrative systems were drowning in deliberately introduced digital chaos. Curl's final synchronization phase began. A collective neural pulse swept through the containment zones, temporarily overwhelming the facility's electronic monitoring systems. It was a sophisticated technological and psychic counterattack that would be studied by researchers for generations. As the first transport vessels began to launch, Zara realized this was more than a rescue mission. It was a fundamental challenge to the existing power structures that had systematically oppressed an entire civilization. The Great Escape was not just about physical liberation. It was a statement of collective resilience, a declaration that no technological system could permanently suppress an intelligent, determined species. Moments later, the first wave of escaped aliens disappeared into the vast darkness of space, leaving behind a facility in complete disarray. Sanctuary and understanding. The quantum-shielded research vessel drifted through a remote sector of the Epsilon Quadrant. Zara watched as the rescued aliens began to recover from their intense escape, their bioluminescent skin gradually stabilizing from the stressed crimson and gray patterns to more nuanced, calmer hues. Curl approached her, moving with a fluid grace that defied standard biomechanical understanding. Their communication had evolved beyond initial linguistic barriers. Now, complex neural exchanges happened with minimal physical interaction, a subtle dance of electromagnetic pulses and color modulations. "Our survival is more than physical escape," Curl communicated, their skin displaying intricate patterns of deep blue and soft green. We must understand the systems that created our oppression. Zara's research databases contained fragments of information about Nexus Interstellar Resources, a complex web of corporate interests that spanned multiple star systems. The mining complex they had escaped was just one node in a vast network of resource extraction and systematic exploitation. The rescued aliens numbered 247, each with unique capabilities that challenged traditional understanding of sentience and technological adaptation. Some could manipulate molecular structures, others possessed advanced neural communication abilities that made human communication systems seem primitive. "We need a sanctuary," Zara explained, displaying holographic star charts. "A location that provides both physical protection and opportunities for cultural reconstruction." The vessel's advanced quantum navigation systems had been carefully programmed to avoid standard communication and tracking networks. Their route was a complex mathematical algorithm designed to appear random while maintaining a precise trajectory. Curl's collective consciousness began analyzing the potential sanctuary locations. Their neural synchronization transformed the research vessel's computational systems, creating multilayered predictive models that considered ecological, socio-political, and technological factors. Potential sanctuary criteria: the collective communication emerged, must provide minimal corporate surveillance, diverse ecological systems, technological infrastructure compatibility, potential for cultural preservation and reconstruction. Zara was fascinated. What had begun as a scientific research mission had transformed into a complex liberation and preservation effort. The aliens were not just seeking physical freedom, they were planning comprehensive cultural regeneration. Their chosen destination was a remote research outpost orbiting a terraformed moon in the Sigma-9 system. Officially, it was a xenobiological research station. Unofficially, it had been established by a network of independent scientists committed to protecting marginalized species. As they approached the outpost, Zara noticed subtle changes in the rescued aliens. Their collective consciousness began to reorganize, creating new communication patterns and social structures that had been suppressed during their captivity. "We are rebuilding," Curl communicated, their entire being radiating a complex mixture of determination and hope. "Not just our physical community, but our collective memory and technological understanding." The research outpost's quantum shielding activated, recognizing Zara's specialized access codes. A series of sophisticated decontamination and integration protocols initiated, designed to safely introduce the rescued species into their new environment. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the outpost's lead xenosociologist, was waiting in the primary integration chamber. Her decades of research had prepared her for complex species interactions, but the rescued aliens represented something unprecedented. "Welcome," she communicated through a series of specialized translation devices, "to a place of healing and reconstruction." The first phase of their sanctuary had begun, a delicate process of cultural preservation, technological adaptation, and collective healing. Transformation and hope. The Sigma-9 research outpost became a crucible of transformation. Zara and Curl worked tirelessly to document and understand the complex process of cultural restoration for the rescued aliens. Their first major breakthrough came through an unexpected collaboration. The aliens' unique neural synchronization capabilities, when carefully integrated with human communication technologies, created revolutionary communication networks. These systems could transmit complex emotional and conceptual information far beyond traditional linguistic barriers. "We are not rebuilding what was lost," Curl communicated, their bioluminescent skin displaying an intricate pattern of silver and deep emerald. "We are creating something entirely new." Dr. Elena Rodriguez's xenosociological research team began documenting the extraordinary process. The aliens weren't just recovering from their oppression, they were actively reimagining their entire societal structure. Evidence began to mount about Nexus Interstellar Resources' systematic exploitation. Encrypted data files recovered during the escape revealed a complex network of corporate interests that extended far beyond the mining complex. The corporation had been systematically suppressing multiple intelligent species across several star systems. Zara's digital forensics team worked meticulously, creating a comprehensive dossier that would eventually become a galactic-level exposure of corporate atrocities. This is more than a rescue, Zara explained during a strategy session. This is a fundamental challenge to existing power structures. The aliens' collective consciousness began developing advanced technological solutions that merged their neural capabilities with human scientific understanding. They created quantum communication networks that could penetrate previously unbreachable corporate encryption systems. Their first major action was to establish a communication network for other potentially suppressed species. Using sophisticated quantum entanglement technologies, they created invisible communication channels that could bypass standard corporate monitoring systems. Kurl emerged as a primary strategic coordinator. Their ability to synchronize complex neural networks allowed for unprecedented levels of collaborative problem-solving. The rescued group was transforming from victims to a sophisticated resistance movement. Political implications began to ripple across multiple star systems. The exposure of Nexus interstellar resources activities triggered investigations, legal challenges, and a fundamental reassessment of corporate power structures. We are creating a new paradigm of interspecies cooperation, Kurl communicated during a critical strategic meeting. The research outpost became more than a sanctuary. It transformed into a beacon of hope, a living demonstration of what could be achieved when different species collaborated with mutual respect and understanding. Zara realized her initial research mission had become something far more significant. This was no longer just a scientific expedition or a rescue mission. It was the beginning of a fundamental transformation of galactic social structures. As the first anniversary of their escape approached, the aliens had not just survived, they had begun to thrive. Their neural technologies were revolutionizing communication systems. Their collective experiences were reshaping understanding of sentience and cultural preservation. We are not defined by our oppression, Kurl communicated during a pivotal moment. We are defined by our ability to transform, to grow, to create. The story of their escape would become a catalyst for change, a testament to the power of collective resilience, scientific collaboration, and unwavering hope.